Where are you coaching at real quick? Where are you coaching at real quick? I screwed it up.
Of course, Mark.
You're at Pleasant. Are you at Pleasant Valley?
What? Pleasant Valley.
Welcome, guys, to the podcast. We're February 12th, hanging out. We got a guest, Wes Hand, in the building. Big Iowa guy, but we're gonna find out. Mark, what did you tell me that you had about it?
Wes Hand's a two-time All-American. He's the 2000 NCAA finalist. He was a heavyweight. He was a bad dude. He's now the head coach at Pleasant Valley High School in Iowa. I think that sums up the legend of Wes Hand.
Yeah, and Wes, who did you wrestle in that NCAA finals match?
Oh,
is that some sort of setup question?
It might be a little bit, but I feel like it's a unique competitor.
Yeah, no, I wrestled Brock Lesnar. In that match, we wrestled. I think we wrestled 3 times that year, and this is a good match. This is a good match. He won it in overtime, and it was, I don't know, it's a long time ago, so lots happened since then, but it was a good match. I'd beaten him earlier in the year, and really probably out wrestled him in the match in the finals, but sometimes that doesn't always win you the match, and just the way it worked out.
Yeah, I mean, obviously,
I was in a bunch of times on good scoring situations, and it didn't happen, and then of course it gets to the ride out, and back then it was just a flip, and whoever won the flip got their choice, and he won the flip and chose down, and I didn't ride him.
Yeah,
I didn't ride him long enough. Let's put it that way.
Well, just speaking of that rule change, do you like the new overtime rules, or do you prefer the old ones?
What are they? Honestly, I don't even know what they are now in college.
I think they go 1
30-30,
and then 1 and 30-30, right?
And then it's the riding time, right?
The second
riding
time.
Yep.
It's the riding time advantage in overtime, in the sudden victory overtime.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's probably a more, in fairness, there, back when I wrestled, it was a 2-minute. You'd go 2 minutes on your feet if nobody scored, and then it was just the tiebreaker. So it wasn't like you didn't have a chance to score on your feet. I think having it all come down to a 50-50 shot of who wins the flip. You wrestle 9.5 minutes in a match, and you're sweaty. Pretty big advantage, I think, to the bottom guy.
Yeah,
but
especially at heavyweight. Sloshing
around. He wasn't a small guy.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I would say these rules make more sense. I mean, the way to do it is just score a takedown.
Yeah.
That's really the way to do it. If you want to win the match.
If you're familiar, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the tournament champions out in Ohio, and I don't know if they still do this, but when I was coming up in high school, the overtime there was just indefinite. It was just go until somebody
First
scored.
Takedown.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would I'm guessing that'd speed up some points, because if you knew there was no end, you're going to try to score one way or another.
Yeah, no, I think so too. I don't know. I don't know how or when those types of rule changes got changed, and if it was ever suggested, how about we just put them on their feet and see how long they can go?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like the epic. Sorry, go ahead, Wes.
Well, so that's 25, 26 years ago since I wrestled. I'm guessing the overtime rules have changed a lot since then. I mean, I don't know what they are or I feel like, but maybe even before my time, it was sudden victory and another sudden victory. And then I don't even know when top bottom came into play. So, the way to do it is just score a takedown. I mean, the thing is, in wrestling, you spend about 80% of your time on your feet. And then when you get to overtime, you can't take somebody down. So, I mean, for me, I look at that match, and I wasn't really the flip that lost me the match. It was not being able to score and not being able to finish holds and not being able to finish situations that I had gotten into and finished thousands of times before that. And for whatever reason that night just didn't happen. It's wrestling, you know, it's hard.
Yep.
It's why not everybody does it. So, yeah, long time ago. Lots happened since then, though.
Did you ever, how long did you stay wrestling after college?
I took the very next year off. Actually, I took 2 years off. I coached. I got right into coaching. And I came back and wrestled in 2003 and 2004. So I wrestled quite a bit for those, I don't know, call it year and a half. Went to, you know, several tournaments overseas and you know, I for me, it was a good break from the sport. Probably needed the break. I cut down from heavyweight down to 211 and had some decent success. I won some tournaments, but never made the world team or Olympic team. I made a world team in high school. I made the junior world team. Well, yeah, I spent from 2000 to 2008 in college coaching, and just a small part of that was still competing, and coached at both Iowa and Virginia Tech. And back when Virginia Tech wasn't very good, but it was sort of the start of it because I was out there when Brands came, and we had a good recruiting class, and then Tom got recruited back to Iowa, and he brought me back with him, and I got to spend some time coaching there in Iowa, the college level.
Awesome. Well, today,
I had a real quick question about wrestling at him as a heavyweight. When I remembered you wrestling freestyle a little bit, and you did. I remembered you wrestled down, right? And I had a buddy that wrestled the same time as you did at Wisconsin, and he'd always talk about like how small he was as a heavyweight. He qualified Jason Pernat in '99 when you were in college. As a heavyweight in college, how much did you like walk around at?
Well, when I was a senior, I was around 245.
Okay.
Of course, I, you know, through my years, started out about 225 and slowly creeped up to a little over 250, and then shrunk a little bit my senior year, back down. But that was probably my most competitive weight. That's where I like to be. If I got too big, I was low. Yeah.
What's your thoughts on the smaller heavyweight?
Excuse me?
What's your thoughts on like being the smaller? Not that 245 is huge still, but in comparison, when you got these guys that are 285, I just wondered what your thoughts were real quick on being a slightly smaller, more athletic heavyweight than the bigger 285 heavyweights.
I think, you know, I never really viewed, you know, 245 was sort of in the middle. You know, I think there's some guys maybe that weigh 220, 230 now that wrestle. You know, if you have good technique, if you're hitting the right technique at heavyweight, I don't think the weight matters a lot. You know, I mean, these are men. You're strong. You know, there's some big boys these days. Gable Steveson was a big boy. I don't know exactly what he weighed when he wrestled. The two guys in the finals last year were both bigger. I don't know how big, but if they were 260, 260 and being as athletic as those guys were, that was impressive. So if you're a 220 pounder going up against those guys, that's tough. I mean, but you know, it comes down to the technique, and you know, hitting guys at or below the knee, cutting corners. You know, if you're going to hit them in their hips, you got to come up, and and you can't get underneath them and extended those types of. I mean, we worked. I remember working a lot of that. Shooting, keeping your hips underneath you, and those things. So it all depends, really. Depends who it is, and I've heard that before. I honestly think some of that's an excuse when I see, well, he only weighs 230. Well, I don't know about that. That a 230-pound guy, if you're strong and got good technique, you're just as effective as the big guys.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Thanks, man.
So, all right. Well, Wes, you're on right now. We're thinking about high school wrestling. We are Illinois high school wrestling based podcast. You're in Iowa. How
Yeah.
did you come to start coaching at Pleasant Valley?
Well, I obviously live in this community, and after I got out of college coaching, I would occasionally help kids on the side. I was getting into business and the business world, and so I didn't ever, fully commit to any coaching staff or anything like that. And really, it was through one of the guys I work with. I'll call him that. Him and his family had some younger boys that were coming up through, and I work with the dad, and I don't know, one conversation led to another, and hey, would you come in and help the club? Hey, would you come in and teach technique here? Hey, teach technique there. And so I kind of started doing that a little bit, and then it was kind of like, would you help coach the high school? And so I did that, as a volunteer for a little bit, for 1 year, and then the head coaching job came open, and I always thought it would be kind of cool to be a high school head coach. After getting back into it and kind of adjusting back from my college mindset, which is where I was at, before I got back into high school, and I just liked it. Just really enjoyed the high school coaching side of it, and so the position came open, and it's where I live. It's in the school district that my kids go, and so it wasn't like I was moving anywhere. It was kind of the perfect storm. I'd been here a while, and and I knew what kind of commitment it was going to take, or at least take, to do the things that I want to do, and I'm just in a place to be able to do that with professionally and personally with my family and everything. So, I got a family that supports it, that likes it. My wife's on board with it, and so here we are. This is my second year as the head coach, and been having some fun.
So Wes, you said your kids do or they do not go to that school?
They do.
Okay.
They do go to PV. Yep.
Well, guys, I would open this up to you guys. You guys have any questions for Wes while we have him? I know we had some curious thoughts on the state in general, how they run wrestling differently than the state of Illinois. So, you guys got anything?
Yeah.
Well,
Go ahead, Jim.
hold on, Stewie. There's a bunch of, I think there's more cool stories of like Wes in college, or Wes right out of college, where like he was Mako's training partner. He was with Steve. I mean, there's a ton of like cool Wes Hand stories that we're gonna have to get you back on, Wes, and do like a deep dive with all the cool stuff. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of cool shit that you know what I mean, that I've learned, that I've heard from you. So,
well, that's probably funner, honestly, to talk about for me than the Brock Lesnar stuff. I mean, that was a neat phase of my life. Wrestled him, all that kind of stuff. But being able to be around some of the guys that I've been around, Steve, you mentioned Mako. I mean, that was a lot of fun. I mean, that was hard. Trust me, he was man, like, talk about a guy that wanted to wrestle you every day, like every day. So yeah, I mean, we could talk a long time about that, but look at what he's done now and what he's doing in the sport of wrestling and MMA. And so
Yeah. The Steve Mocco story. I think one of the first times I saw Steve Mocco was at the Midlands when it ended in a brawl between him and Tommy Rowlands. So did you have some of those brawls with Steve?
Steve viewed me as I think, if he got into a fight with me, not that I would want any part of that, honestly, but he's not going to have any partners if he fights me, because he's fought everybody else. So him and I was just his training partner. I mean, I was a coach too, but to him, I was his training partner. And then when I cut down to 211, he was making a run at the Olympic team that year too. And so we really trained together then. And you talk about the size difference. I actually was better. I actually did better against him when I cut down than I did when I was bigger. I was just able to move. I was in better shape. I just could compete better with him. But yeah, it was hard. He was one you talk about that unlimited overtime rule. He's one that you would not want to get into one of those with, because you better hit something good, because that guy's not going to quit. He wasn't quitting no matter what. But yeah, that was a really fun time. And even when I went to Virginia Tech, they'd still bring me back to come back and in the spring, summers, and train with him. And the guy, it was hard to find partners for the guy. And not many people wanted to do it. I don't know why I did, but I think I just liked Steve, and so I wanted to help him.
Jim, we know another guy that's hard guy to have a practice partner for.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I've told Jim that before. I said, when I got to know Jimmy a little bit, it was like I felt like I was talking to a smaller version of Steve Mocco. Jimmy. To me, it was the same. It's the same thing. When Mocco, 20 years ago, you could not keep him off the mat. You could not keep him from training. You'd have to. I don't know. There was nothing the guy liked to do other than train. And I started. It's been 2 or 3 years ago now since was introduced to Jimmy back then, and it didn't take me long to realize that this is a younger, smaller version of what I remember Steve, because and just the mindset, the mindset of it's very similar mindsets, and the difference for me is I'm never going to wrestle Jimmy again. So whereas 25 years ago I would wrestle Mocco all the time, I'm never going to wrestle Jimmy again. The last time he put his hands on me, my neck, I couldn't straighten my neck for a month. So we're probably not going to do that anymore. If I do, I'm going to have about 4 guys with me. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Hopefully in a year you might need 5.
Yeah. He's I'm pretty pumped about his landing spot in Iowa State, and just his future. I mean, it's obviously we got his dad on the line here, but he's going to be a fun one to follow. To me, he's so untapped right now. Like, and it's been a little bit since I've been around him, but I view Jimmy as somebody that just he's not even close to his ceiling.
Oh yeah.
Not even close. Like, we're not even talking about it close right now. And when he starts mentally getting there, and it's going to start being scary out there for his opponents.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to it as well. You guys, any more questions for Wes before we
Yeah,
let him
yeah.
go?
Something about the Iowa high school scene. Iowa has open enrollment, right?
Yeah.
What is the kind of the? There is some restrictions to open enrollment. What are the what is the guidelines for it? Like, is mileage wise, how far does a kid have to be within the mileage of that school or whatever?
You know, I don't know. I don't know that. I don't know it. You know, if you open enroll, I just know you can do it. I don't know if there is a mileage restriction or
Okay.
not. Um, I mean, I guess you can only drive so far to go to school, right? But um, I don't know. I don't
Okay.
know. But yeah, open enrollment. I don't know when that changed. It's obviously before my time, but that that opens the door there for, you know, kids to live in one district and go to another. But you know, if you're in high school and you want to open enroll to another school, you still got to sit out the 90 days. I don't know if that's the same in Illinois or not. I think there's a sit out period in Illinois too, but that's what it is here. And so, you know, it limits you a little bit. I mean, there's rules. There's still rules.
Do you see much lateral movement from kids, transferring from school to school, from year to year?
I think yeah. I mean, I think it happens. It happens everywhere, I think. And um, I think open enrollment is probably a part of that. And um, it's also a product of our times a little bit too. And I mean, if you kind of look at what goes on above high school, you know, what's happened in college athletics. And I mean, you used to, you know, you'd have to go somewhere and sit out and, you know, sit out a period of time, or you couldn't, if you were a Big Ten kid, you couldn't transfer to another Big Ten school. I think you'd lose a year of eligibility. I mean, things used to be a lot stricter. Um, and now there's, you know, there's rules, but they're not very strict. And so some of that I think's trickled into high school and made it much easier to move around and go to school. I don't know, when I was in high school, I never ever gave a thought to going to another school outside of my school. It just wasn't a thing. You know, if it happened, it didn't happen around where I lived. But times have changed, definitely that way. Yeah.
Well, here's what I think's interesting in between like Iowa and Illinois, a big difference, and this is going to open a huge can of worms probably with short time, but it seems like with now, of course, there's going to be a million exceptions, but it seems like in Illinois, your typical powerhouse schools are private schools, and then in Iowa, it's just the opposite. Your typical powerhouse schools are public schools. You know, now you
Yeah.
can, I mean, I can say, I know St. Charles East won a state title a couple years ago. I mean, I know, I'm just saying traditionally or historically, statistically, whatever the word is, it seems like Iowa powerhouses are public, Illinois powerhouses are private. Yes, no, that's, I mean, me being new to, I mean, I'm the
No, it's
newest wrestling
absolutely
guy
real.
here.
Yeah, it's real. It's for
It's
sure in
real.
Illinois. I mean, I don't know. I mean, Iowa, is City High and City West, are those public schools?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Then never mind. Because
Yeah.
even back in the day,
No,
those were
West Des Moines Dowling, you know, for the longest time, you know, and again, this is going back closer, maybe my era of high school, and maybe even after that a little bit. You know, they were top dogs. You know, Don Bosco's private. Um, you know, Davenport Assumption. There's some good private programs out there, or private schools here. But to your point, I don't. You know, you sent that text earlier today that I was thinking about that. I don't really know what to think about that or why. I guess I don't really know why. Um,
I,
and,
I
and maybe,
think it's turns into politics. I think because we're such I think our public schools are so progressive because of being in Illinois, and I think I know Iowa public schools are not. So I think that has a lot to do with it. I mean, if you're going to go to you don't have to go to a private school in Iowa. You can go to a normal public school.
Yeah.
Where if you go to a public school around here, you're going to come home with fucking blue hair.
Well, I also think that it does, honestly, the open enrollment, it really forces programs and teams and athletic departments to really try their best to do well, because otherwise people are going to go to the school down the street because they don't have the control over the people in that district or whatever. In Illinois, they just you're unless you got 10 grand or more to go to a private school, you have to go to the school that you live down the street from. Well, I just think that the open enrollment creates the competitiveness or the competitive environment that allows programs to really invest in their athletic department, which then in turn just cycles through, people get better and everything works.
So
I mean,
I guess I don't know this. Is there not open enrollment in Illinois?
no.
You're bonded to your zip code.
Okay.
So I just want to let you guys know, I looked this up. 3A, right? If you go back to when we started to go to 3 classes, 08, 09, you had public school win, public school, public school, public school, public school, public school, public school, public. 2017, 18, you got Montini, 19, 20, 20, 21. Then, so outside of St. Charles East winning in 22, 23, it's been 6 years of the privates. Before that, though, it was all Carl Sandburg and OPRF. 1A's always.
Which were an open enrollment school.
Oh, yeah. Well, Carl Sandburg, I don't think was. They had maybe a little bit, but OPRF definitely was a lot of kids from all around during those times, which I'm all for.
Yeah. Well, either way, we don't want to keep Wes too much, but yeah, we are excited to chat about some of the Iowa high school wrestling stuff. We'll have to have you back on. We'll tell some more stories. Anything else, Wes, that you've been thinking about as it pertains to Illinois wrestling and Iowa wrestling?
Well, Pleasant Valley beat Geneseo this year in a dual meet, so I guess Iowa wrestling is just a lot better.
Oh shit!
No, I don't want to say that because they'll stir the pot with Geneseo. They're going to want us to get back on the schedule, and I just created some bulletin board material. But no.
What was the score though? What was the score? Did you dominate?
We won comfortably. Let's put it that. It was a good day for the Spartans. Now I cannot tell you honestly. I don't think they had everybody in. I don't know their lineup well enough honestly to know. I only say that about them because we just wrestled them this year, and I kind of wanted to throw in a little bit of Iowa or Illinois dig on you guys. So
We'll take it.
But Tommy Rusk, Geneseo, they're good stuff over there. I like them a lot, and like the program, and it just so happens they're not far from us, and I don't even know how the duel got scheduled. I think they wanted to work something out with us, and we were going to this quad over in Cedar Rapids, and so I told them about it, and they came over, and but yeah. Good tough program, but that day was a little bit better for us.
Well, now
I got a real quick rebuttal. Go ahead, Jim.
Well, this might take a minute, but so you guys have already had your team state pre-individual state. Team state's done and over with.
Correct. Yep.
See, Iowa does it different. They had their team state ahead several weeks ahead of individual state.
Yeah. Yep. Would you remind us how you guys did? I think you.
Well, but we qualified for the dual state for the first time, and I think it's 13 years, maybe 14 years. I don't know exactly what it was, and we had to beat Bettendorf to get there, and obviously it was a tough duel. They're our local rival here in the Quad Cities, and rival across all sports. And they've pretty much dominated from what I know, and again, I haven't been involved that long, but from what I know over the last, 25 years ish, they've really dominated the wrestling series. And so, being able to get a win over them, when it was on the line, when a trip to state was on the line was good for us. And, obviously a major hurdle for our program. Kids are funny, I kind of believe in benchmark goals. And, if I'd have sat there and told them we're going to win a state title, I would have lost all credibility as a coach. And so you got to, I think, put realistic, attainable goals out there and try to go get them. And, so that's been a goal since I took over the program, is to get there, and we got there. And, we didn't perform, I would say, the greatest last weekend, but, we moved in the right direction. And, so we'll just keep chopping it in half every year, and chopping, trying to keep climbing that podium, and hopefully we can get to the top someday.
And
One more
Bettendorf,
quick. Go ahead.
beating Bettendorf this year is a big deal because Bettendorf's loaded. You know what I mean? You got Knight, Trevino, Jip, the other kid, I always forget his name, with the brother that's,
Yes.
Bettendorf's loaded,
Kester. Yeah, and
Kester, yep.
we just, we matched up kind of perfectly against them, and we minimized the damage of their horses, and it was just, good. It was a good night for us. There were 3 or 4 matches that, they kind of, you look at it on paper, it's like could come down to these 4, or who wins, and bonus, throw bonus points in there, and we won all 4 of them. So that usually makes the difference. You win the tough matches, you usually can win the meet. So I'm just proud of our team, proud of our program, proud of the progress we're making. Like I said, it's the benchmark goal, right? 2 years ago, they didn't believe they could beat Bettendorf. Like, they didn't think that. And they didn't think they could make it to the dual team state either. And so you bring them along slow and accomplish one thing at a time, and keep climbing and keep climbing and keep climbing and keep chopping. And like I said, hopefully we'll chop that in half again next year, and can get into the top 5 or top 3, and who knows, maybe we can put something real cool together.
Hey, Wes, who's your youth feeder clubs? Who are you, like, who's funneling kids to you where you're at?
We have a pretty big club within Pleasant Valley,
Okay.
with 230 kids in Pleasant Valley, youth all the way up through junior high. But, Big Game Wrestling Club is here local. Young Guns, Big Game and Young Guns are the 2 clubs that are here in the Quad Cities. And, so we have kids that kind of go to all of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really have one club that just sends everybody to us or anything like that. I wish that were the case, but it's not. And but that's fine. There's a lot of good opportunities for the kids to get better. And but it really does start with it starts with the school club, and bringing them along when they're little all the way up through. And it's a long process that way, but
Mm-hmm.
it's just it's a different world. So you have the school, and then you have all these other clubs, and you're trying to, it's just a different time, and it's not going away. It's, those clubs are only getting stronger. So, just try to, no matter how they're involved in wrestling, just get them to a place that makes them happy, and where they're getting better, and keep bringing them along.
Cool.
Well, Wes, thanks. These guys kept you on 10 minutes longer, so apologize for that.
Yeah.
And you have a good rest of your night.
I'm waiting for George
Hey,
to jump in, shut her down.
don't say anything to those Geneseo guys, all right? I'm not trying to stir the pot, all right? Have a good one, guys.
Take care,
See
Wes.
you, Wes. Thanks, man.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, you bet.
Thank you. I didn't get to give my rebuttal, but I had a rebuttal. But I was like, yeah, it's not really relevant, but I just wanted to tell him that in 1998, I was out at Northern Plains, and I wrestled the #1 kid in the country from Iowa, who was a 3-time All-American at Iowa later on in his career and an NCAA champ. And Stewie over here whacked Cliff Moore in double overs to his back, and I thought, I'm going to stick him. And then he got off, and I was like, shit, now I'm really going to get fucked up. And Cliff Moore proceeded to take me down 3 times. Bang, bang, bang. Didn't turn me. Got back to my feet. He shot in again, and I said, I got it. He shot that high double. Dude, and I launched him on his head one more time, and I stuck him. My buddies were going crazy. I was like, I told you I was going to stick his ass. I proceeded to not place because that's back when you had crossover bracketing. Cliff Moore proceeded to run through the rest of that fucking freestyle bracket, and he won the 132-pound bracket. But I'm 1-0 with a fall. So, Illinois over Iowa.
And was that Greco or freestyle?
Freestyle.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, I had a lot of big wins that year, like freestyle Greco wise. It's probably my best year.
Well,
You know what's crazy about these other state tournaments, right? We know of great state tournaments, right? Like we know they exist. We talk about them. We know in advance, like, dude, you might see this. This is the matchup people want to see in Iowa at 215 in whatever class, right? Or hey, I've always wanted to witness a one-class state tournament, right? But the reality of it is I have been said it for years. I'm not going back to the IHSA this year. I'm going to go to Indiana. I want to see a one class. I want to see that like blood round and that, where like a true blood round where kids' careers, and like they used to have it where if you lost in the first round, you're done. Like that was a few years ago. They still did that, and I wanted to see that. And it's like, dude, I never seen it, and I think it's something I want to do. It's just I haven't missed an IHSA state tournament since '96. That's 30 years and counting. But like, dude, I'm dying to do it.
We
So
should.
Indiana's the same weekend.
it's the
Yeah,
same.
dude, it sucks.
Yeah.
It's the same weekend. And my buddy, when he was the assistant at Crown Point, I mean, dude, they had such great kids. And I'm like, man, I'm coming. And I just couldn't do it.
Well,
We
you
should
know what?
get someone from Indiana on because their whole qualification. I mean, it's like a 4 or 5 week process.
It's 3 weeks to get to state. They run their they do their sectional
Semi-state.
first, then they go sectionals, regional, semi-state, state.
And state. Yeah.
I found it really interesting today with the news coming out yesterday of Liam Kelly, which, as anybody who watches this podcast knows, there's not a single guy on this podcast that wasn't rooting for Liam Kelly the entire time, that didn't think the right decision was made. It's exactly what we wanted, right? Because as Dalton says, as fans, we want to see the best kids in the state at the state tournament wrestling for state titles. That's the reality of it. I think one thing we all need to do better is like wait till we hear all the facts sometimes. And what I found today was this has been going on for a week.
Oh, dude.
10 days yet. Still people don't know the whole
know.
story and are so quick to be anti this kid competing, like, oh, must be nice to be rich. Well, the lawyer was pro bono. Nice try. Must be nice to be great. This doesn't happen to poor kids or bad kids. Well, that's not true. They don't fight. You got to fight it, and you got to make it a big deal. Because if you fought it and made it a big deal and you weren't a big name, I'm telling you right now, there's crazy fuckers out there like us who are gonna go on a tear about that kid being wronged because we love wrestling, and we want to see kids have the opportunity to make their dreams come true. Whether it's the 32-9 kid or the 12-17 or the 45-44-1 nationally ranked kid, we don't care. And I think that should be the common theme amongst the fan bases and the supporters of wrestling. And if you're not that person, you should go fucking find another sport or stay away from like youth sports altogether. because
Yep,
you're
I like
missing the point. They're missing the point. This was not about Liam Kelly because he was a stud. This was about a kid being wronged, like terribly wronged, and then for people so quick to jump. And I really struggle to process this. And I know you're
when you're
Dalton, right?
saying
When
It's social media.
you're saying a kid being wrong, what you're calling the athletic trainer a kid, correct? When you're saying a kid being
Oh,
wrong,
you said
are you saying
being
No, I'm
wronged?
saying they're
wronged.
wronged. Like they're wrong.
Okay.
The kid was wronged by an
Yeah.
athletic trainer, by a
Well,
head
do me a
official,
favor,
by the
enunciate a little
ISSA.
more.
Sorry, my bad, pimp. Yeah, I just feel like one thing that I think really got missed in this whole situation was the facts, and this wasn't. And people were so, and even now that the facts have came out, right? People still are like upset,
Oh,
and I
yeah.
think
Well,
if
and
you're
I think
upset about him being in it, then you need to get away from youth sports because these kids work really fucking hard. And if you think your kid works hard as a high school wrestler who wrestles folk style and maybe dabbles in off style, you have no fucking clue the amount of work that a kid like. I mean, there's kids that aren't very good that do the same that put a shit ton of effort into this. But like, if you really wanted Liam Kelly out, knowing all the facts and thought he should be out, you're not a good person because the reality is this kid outside of school has sacrificed everything else in his life to be great at this sport. And we had an athletic trainer disregard a doctor's note and a real skin condition that is not contagious to keep them from competing. When the IFC had a chance to write it, they said, he's been wrong, you're right, but there's nothing we can do.
there was a couple things that I think I agreed and disagreed, right? So obviously in this situation, he definitely got wronged, right? And that would be, it was a miscarriage of justice, right? Or I think that's the term. And I think a lot of people thought they look at it like, oh, they assume he broke a rule and now he's just getting away with it because he's like this privileged kid. But in reality, if it was a kid who didn't go to Mount Carmel, who wasn't on a prestigious program, who didn't have maybe anything, and we heard about the same type of situation, we would still be pulling for that person to have the opportunity to compete if they went through all of the protocols that were already put in place. The other thing is, I think it is kind of about the best kid in the state allowing him to wrestle in the state tournament, because if you have a state tournament, I think this is the difference is like, I think the whole point of the state tournament, and this is probably why I think there should only be one class, is because the whole point of the state tournament is to have a competition to find out who the best kid is at each weight class in the state of Illinois. And if one of those kids is not able to come to the tournament, well, then that means that that tournament is not as a representative of that accomplishment of the best kid in the state of Illinois. So on one hand, I was with you the whole time. Like, he did get wronged. This was a silly situation that shouldn't have happened. But on the same sense, it's like I also said the other day that I think kids who are nationally ranked should just automatically qualify for the state tournament, because that's the whole essence of a state tournament is to have the best competition to see who the best athlete is. And again, why I think there should be one class and not three classes or more than three classes.
You're not wrong. And
Yeah.
back to the comment I made in our group text earlier today. So you take like I had to quit reading it, Stewie. Like some of the responses, like I was getting so mad I was yelling at my phone. But so like, I mean, and just for the record, Liam Kelly owns the internet today. He owns the wrestling internet today, hands down. But so you're gonna some of these people that are naysayers and are condemning him, saying he doesn't have any right to compete in the in sectionals and go on to state. So you're telling me that if you have a kid that was born with a skin condition that's not contagious or controllable, and he carried his skin paper into a weigh-in and was not allowed to compete, you would just tuck your head down, turn around and walk away and said, well, son, sorry, we'll try again next year because this trainer said that you can't wrestle. Bullshit. As a parent, you're going to fight for your kid tooth and nail, guaranteed. If you don't, you're not
100%.
fit to be if you don't, you're not fit to be a parent.
Yeah, especially in this situation where you did everything that you were told that you needed to do,
Yeah.
Again, it's not
Oh.
like he showed up and everybody responded to it. It was already a Yeah, the internet. Yeah, it's weird. Yeah, you're right. I think Liam Kelly did own the internet. Today was his day on the wrestling internet, and yeah, it's all good. It's great for the state tournament. It's great for the speculation around 65. Again, we are not crowning him as champion. We're looking forward to that bracket and how it unfolds. I mean, I want to see if Bruno Cassiope can narrow the gap. Right? They had I think an 8 or a 10-point match at the Marmion tournament. And, I've went and watched those guys practice. I'm going to go watch Hononiga guys practice on Tuesday. Like
You would.
he's not sitting around, not competing and training to try to narrow the gap and win. So I think it makes 165 that much more exciting that he's in it. And yeah, it's all good.
I mean, and you can't forget, you still got Royce Lopez. You
I'm
still
not
got
forgetting.
Dane Serio, right? Is
Not
it Dane?
forgetting.
I didn't know Dane was at 65.
Yeah, he's at 65 as well. And there's a handful of other kids that could go out and have the tournament of their life, or just and be that guy that pulls off that upset. Nobody, like Dalton said, putting Liam in this back in this tournament, nobody's crowning Liam Kelly a state champion. That has not happened. We got a sectional and a state tournament. We got 2 weeks to determine this. There is formidable competition out there to keep that from
Oh,
happening.
yeah.
And all we want to do is see it, right? We want to see, though, the best guys in 3A go scrap, and Liam Kelly is in that group. There's 4 guys, I think, that on the right day could win that bracket. Which one of them wins it? You know?
We shall see.